Bonjour, c'est Schela. Bienvenue à Cuisine Kwizin. Today we're making soup Joumou. Soup Joumou is the soup that we Haitians prepare every New Year's Day to celebrate our independence. As ingredients, we're going to use the squash, turnips, potatoes, onions, leeks, celery, lemon, cabbage, and I think that's, oops, we need meat. Very important. Beef neck bone, cow foot, and some beef shoulders. You need a little fat in your beef shoulder because you want flavor. You're making soup, so you want that flavor. And when you're buying the squash, if you need one for the recipe, you buy two because you never know what you're going to get once you cut your squash, right? And always taste the squash after you've cooked it to see what you have. You know how it tastes. Do you like how it is? Do you like the, the consistency of your squash? You're also going to need pasta. This is called pennoni. It's made of semoule. C'est fait de semoule de blé, très très bon. Et ça reste ça garde sa forme dans la soupe. Comme épices, nous aurons besoin of dry chicken stock, cayenne pepper, and some hot sauce. I like to use matuk because matuk has the bonnet pepper, so you get that really nice Caribbean flavor. Mrs. Dash, some lemon juice, du thym et des clous de girofle, et bien sûr, épices. Alors, si vous besoin connaître qui j'en pour faire épices, you can go to my video about épices. It's on YouTube. Et voilà, on mélange. Alors, je commence par mélanger mes ingrédients. Je vais garder mes clous de girofle de côté. J'ajoute le thym, dry chicken stock, Mrs. Dash, et ça ici, cayenne pepper et le matuk. Alors, je mélange le tout. Ouh, c'est fort. Bien mélangé. Alors, je vais ajouter ça à ma viande. La viande a été bien lavée. Alors, je ne vais pas vous dire comment laver votre viande et quoi faire. Nous, les Haïtiens, on a des façons particulière. Oh my gosh, je vais éternuer. Oh, c'est fort. Ouh. Voilà. Alors, je mélange ça. I don't like using my hand in meat. Never. Alors, je mélange tout ça. Préparé. On veut que la viande soit bien. We want it to be nicely coated with the mixture. And we want to add some salt. Bear with me 1 second. Oops. Be a little bit generous with the salt. So if you need the recipe, I will write it down with all the different amounts that you will need, okay? So when everything is nicely mixed, you put it, oops, you know what I forgot? Lemon juice. I need more than that, but just to show you how to make it. I usually put a lemon and a half. It's all in the recipe. So now let's pass. So this needs to go in the fridge overnight because you're making soup. So you want the lemon juice. You want the flavors to really enter, to really be inside the meat because it's going to be in liquid. You don't want your meat to have no flavor or to taste too much like the joumou. You want to taste your meat in the soup. Okay, so we put this in the fridge overnight and we'll go to my stove to show you how to start your stock. So now my meat has been sitting overnight. It's ready for my beef stock. olive oil. About a 1/4 cup. My épice, very hot. And I'm going to take, je vais prendre mes clous de girofle. Voilà. It's very hot. I don't use that pot. Usually I just do it in the pot for the stock, but I want you to be able to see what I'm doing. And usually my neck bones are cut smaller, but I was told by the butcher that they couldn't handle meat in a certain way, so I'm not going to fight. It's only for the stock, so it's fine. So I'm adding the cow foot in the pot. Oopsie. Voila. And the neck bone. This is to start my stock. So you want to, for your meat, you want to really caramelize it a little bit. See? This is what gives the flavor to your soup. So I'm going to let it cook a little bit higher for about 5 minutes. Okay, so now I'm going to cut my vegetables for my stock. Je les coupe vraiment en 3. C'est facile, c'est seulement pour le bouillon, so it's not really a big problem. I only cut the stock in 3, washed it, and I'm going to throw that in the pot with some water and onions. I'm going to peel 2 onions. Oops. I need to sharpen my knives. I've been a little bit lazy about doing that, but all I'm going to do is take the robe off this one. Voila. And this one here. You don't want to use red onions for this because red onions have a sweet, flavor. Wow. And they're not the best thing to put in your soup. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna cry. That used to be my job in my mother's kitchen, peeling onions. I don't know why, but I used to love that. And then I would complain that I'm crying, just like now. Okay. What else am I putting in my stock? I have my leeks that I've already cut and ready to throw in the bouillon. Okay, so let's go back to the stove and add water to the pot. I have transferred the cow foot, the beef neck bone into the pot and added 20 cups of water. Now I'm going to add my celery stalk, 2 onions. Moi connais gen Haitien qui dit, oh mon Dieu, qui satisfait ça fait là? This is the best way to start your soup, a nice, tasty stock. And I've also added a whole stalk of garlic. So I'm going to let this boil for about 3 hours on a low fire so I could get the base for my soup. I'm using 2 types of squash for my soup. I've tried this one once and it gave it a little sweet flavor. It sweetened it a little bit, so I only bought a 1/4 of a squash, of this one here. And I bought a cabbage. I bought 2 of those, just I remember once I bought one and it didn't taste good. Then I said, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? It was January 1st, everything was closed. So I've learned my lesson to buy 2 instead of 1. This way I always have extra if there's a problem. I wash them and put them on parchment paper and put them in the oven. Cook them for 2 hours on 175. On 275, sorry, 275. And this is what I get when it's cooked. Push this out of the way. Okay, this has been cooking for 2 hours. So I'm gonna cut it. This is so nice. I'm going to remove the seeds. See? Remove the seeds. Gently, and this way I won't lose anything. Cut it in quarters and then peel it gently and put it in a blender to start my soup. I've peeled my squash and kept the meat that we call it, and I put it in the blender. So I'm using the stock that I was cooking, that I showed you how I prepared. I'm adding just a little bit in the blender. And I'm going to might need just a little bit more of liquid. Bear with me. I'm going to add some stock from my pot, and I'm going to blend it. I want a smooth puree. I'm going to verify how it is, see if it's ready for my. Oh, perfect. You don't want any grains. You want it to be nice and smooth, nice puree. Okay, I'm going to blend it just a little bit more. Now let's go to the pot. So for the past 3 hours, I've been cooking my stock, and I strained it, and this is what I'm left with. So you have the bones, the onions that are all crushed, and here, this is my stock. I'm going to pour it in to the pot. So now I'm going to add the squash to my broth. All right. J'ajoute ça, I stir. Ce qui est important, c'est d'avoir une soupe qui a bon goût, qui nous nourrit, right? I stir and I let it thicken for about, I would say, 20 minutes. Now I'm going to add all my vegetables to the pot, except I'm going to keep the carrots and the celery on the side. I don't like mushy carrots or mushy celeries in my soup. This is my secret ingredient. I discovered this last year. Actually, my cousin Neil told me about this. It's called culantro, And that smells so good. It tastes so good. This is something that I add at the end of the soup. I wasn't able to find anything fresh. This was the last one left in the store. It's so popular now. I don't know what's going on. People love it, and this is something I didn't know about. My mother didn't use that, or maybe she did and I didn't know. But this is the secret ingredient for your soup. This is the last thing that you'll add. So now let me add my vegetables to the soup. Okay. Whoa. This is hot. Get my spoon. While I'm adding the vegetables right here on the side, I'm cooking the beef shoulder that you saw earlier. And it's cooking on a low fire. I don't want to cook it completely because I'm going to add it to my soup. Okay. The water boiling in the back, it's for the pasta. So I'm going to add a little, a little salt to my water. Stir it. And then I'll cook my pasta. I don't like to add the pastas to the soup. There's nothing worse than when you get your soup and the pasta's all mushy and ugh. I don't like that. I like for my pasta to be cooked separately for the soup. So now I'm going to let the vegetables, actually the potatoes and the parsnips cook for another 15-20 minutes. And then I'll add the carrots, celery, and the cabbage at the end. So the meat here is 2 pounds of beef shoulder. What you see now is only 1 pound because I wanted to do something quick so you guys could see how to make it. It's only 1 pound, and you can see the nice spices. So that's going to be added to my soup, more flavor. And to this, you could add a little bit of tomato paste if you want. I like to add a little bit of tomato paste. My fire. So I'm not going to let the meat cook thoroughly. I would say medium rare. And when the soup is almost ready, I'm going to add it to it. This way my meat still has a nice color and I'm not eating gray meat in the soup. Okay. I have strained the broth from all the vegetables and the meat, and I'm going to get the meat off the bones, whatever is left. This is so good. I tasted it. It's yummy. And I'm keeping some of the cartilage from the cow foot. Okay, so you have some extra meat. Right. And from here, I'm going to check my pot to see how my broth is doing. Ooh, that's hot. Don't leave your spoon in the pot like that. That's a big no-no. So it's thickening. So I've added the whole Joumou, the whole squash is in there. So now, from what was at the bottom of the stock, all the vegetables, I have taken the meat and the cartilage out. So in my blender, I'm adding the all the vegetables that were cooked in the stock. So this is going to be extra flavor added to my soup. Oops. Piece of meat here. I don't want that. Okay, there is something in there, so I'm just going to strain it. So nothing goes to waste. My soup is nice and thick. My potatoes are cooked. I'm going to taste. Maybe I need to add a little salt, but I seriously doubt it. Oh. Oh my gosh, that is so good. But I could use a little more salt. Stir. Now I'm going to add all my ingredients, my leftover carrots and celery, because the potatoes are cooked. Celery. And I'm going to wait a little bit for the cabbage. I'm going to add the meat that was in the broth earlier from the bone. Okay, that's done. So my soup is almost ready. It's beautiful and yummy. There's one thing I haven't added yet. It's my Scotch bonnet pepper to flavor my soup. I'm going to take that from my fridge. These are from my garden. I froze them from the summer. And I'm adding 2. So I have to remember how many I added, because if somebody if they get stuck in there, they won't be too good. So I'm going to let the soup boil for another 20 minutes until the vegetables are nice and soft. I would say more like 10 minutes, because I don't want my carrots to be too soft. This is my spoon from Montreal. I got this at Meli Melo. This is my soup spoon, and I use it once a year or maybe more if I have to make more soup. And now I'm going to add the cabbage, because everything is almost ready. Add my cabbage. Now I have cleaned the culantro. I've been able to find a few good leaves, and I have about, I would say, about 8 leaves right here. So le nom, le culantro, c'est de la coriandre, coriander, and it is so flavorful, and c'est la dernière chose que vous allez ajouter à votre soupe. Et c'est ça. Alors je l'ajoute maintenant. Alors lorsque vous ajoutez de la coriandre, le culantro, il faut y aller doucement, parce que quand même pour moi ça m'a pris un peu de temps pour m'habituer à la saveur. Alors allez-y doucement. Voilà. Alors 5 minutes et ma soupe sera prête. Entre-temps, ce que j'ai fait cuire mes pâtes, ma pennoni. Je les ai fait cuire al dente, parce que je veux pas que mes pâtes soient trop cuites. Je veux qu'elles soient prête et bien en forme dans la soupe. D'accord? Alors, dans 2 ou 3 minutes, je vais ajouter mes pâtes. Et souvent, ce que je fais, je laisse les pâtes de côté et j'ajoute dans le plat. De cette façon, chaque personne peut choisir la quantité qu'ils veulent dans leur plat. D'accord? Alors, dans 5 minutes, je vais ajouter les pâtes. In 5 minutes, I'm going to add the pasta to the soup and the soup will be ready to be eaten. J'ai oublié ma viande. Alors, la viande est prête. Je vais l'ajouter aussi à ma soupe. Making soup is labor of love. I love making soup. I always feel like I have food in the house when I know I have some frozen containers of soup in the freezer. Whenever I don't feel like cooking or I want something really light, I'll just go in the freezer and get some soup out. So I'm going to, oh, where is my ladle? Voilà. Alors ce que je vais faire, je vais prendre un peu de soupe, je vais l'ajouter là-dedans, de cette façon. Ah, voilà. Rien ne se perd. Everything is there. Ah. Et voilà. Ah, chaud. Ma soupe est presque prête. Ma soupe est prête. Je vais vous la montrer. My soup is ready. Beautiful. I'm going to turn fire. Wow. Looking for a nice piece of meat to put in here. There we go. Voilà. Voilà. Ma soupe est prête. My soup is ready. Enjoy. Oh my gosh, I forgot to say something. This is the shallots. I chopped it, added about 4 tablespoons of lemon juice, 1 Scotch bonnet pepper, a tiny one, and this is what I add on top of the soup. My gosh, I can't believe I forgot to say this. Now the soup is ready to be eaten. Bye, bonne année, au revoir, salut.